The night everything changed, no one in the mansion noticed the silence, except her, in one of the richest neighborhoods, behind tall iron gates and glowing chandeliers. The Carter family lived a life most people only dreamed of. Wealth, power, luxury. It was all there, but inside that perfect-looking house, something was always slightly off. The kind of feeling you can't explain, but you know it's real. For months, their pregnant maid, Elena, had been quietly doing her job. She wasn't just a worker. She was someone who had slowly become part of the daily rhythm of the house. She knew their routines, their moods, even their secrets. And maybe that's what made her dangerous. Because one day, without warning, everything changed. Elena was suddenly gone. No goodbye, no explanation. Just gone. The family didn't talk about it much. To outsiders, they said she had left for personal reasons. But inside the house, there was tension, whispers between staff, locked doors, and a strange urgency to replace her as quickly as possible. Within days, a new woman arrived. She was also pregnant. Her name was Sophia. At first glance, Sophia seemed quiet, respectful, almost too perfect. She didn't ask questions. She followed every instruction. And just like that, she stepped into Elena's place, as if nothing had ever happened. But something about her felt different. The way she looked at the family, not with fear, but with calm confidence. The way she walked through the house like she already knew it. And most of all, the way she smiled. It wasn't a smile of someone grateful for a job. It was a smile of someone who knew something no one else did. The Carter family didn't notice at first. They were too busy maintaining their image, too focused on their own world. To them, Sophia was just another replacement, another temporary solution. But the truth? Sophia wasn't there by accident. Every move she made had a reason. Every word she spoke was carefully chosen. And every day she stayed in that house, she got closer to something. Or someone. Meanwhile, small things started happening. A door left slightly open. A conversation overheard that was never meant to be heard. A name mentioned in whispers. Elena. And slowly, the truth began to surface, but not in the way anyone expected. Because the biggest mistake the Carter family made wasn't replacing Elena. It was assuming they were still in control. They didn't know who Sophia really was. They didn't know why she came. And they definitely didn't know what she was carrying wasn't just a child. As the days passed, the tension inside the mansion grew heavier. Secrets that had been buried for years were starting to crack. And Sophia? She wasn't afraid of what was coming. In fact, she had been waiting for it. Because this wasn't just a story about a billionaire family, a pregnant maid, or a quiet replacement. This was a story about truth. And once the truth comes out, there's no going back. But the real question is, when the Carter family finally discovers who Sophia really is, will it already be too late? Morning in the Carter mansion always looked the same on the outside. Sunlight pouring through glass walls. Staff moving quietly. Everything polished and perfect. But after Sophia arrived, something in the air felt heavier. Even the silence seemed to carry weight. Sophia adjusted quickly. Too quickly. Within days, she knew where everything was kept, which doors stayed locked, and which ones were never supposed to be opened. She learned the family's habits. The exact time Mr. Carter left for work, the long phone calls Mrs. Carter took behind closed doors, and the way the house seemed to shift late at night, like it was hiding something. But what stood out the most was how little anyone asked about her. No one questioned her past. No one checked her story. It was as if the family didn't care who she was, as long as she did her job and stayed quiet. And Sophia did stay quiet, but she watched everything. Sometimes she would pause while cleaning, her eyes lingering on a photograph, a hallway, a locked drawer. Other times, she would stand still for a moment too long, like she was remembering something or confirming it. One afternoon, while organizing a storage room, Sophia found a small box tucked behind old files. It wasn't labeled, but something about it felt important. She opened it slowly. Inside were medical documents, reports, dates, and one familiar name written again and again, Elena. Sophia's expression didn't change, but her fingers tightened slightly around the papers. She didn't read everything, just enough to understand that Elena's time in this house hadn't been as simple as it seemed. Footsteps echoed down the hallway. Sophia quickly placed the box back exactly where she found it, closing the door just as another maid walked past. "Everything okay?" the maid asked, glancing at her. Sophia gave a small nod. "Yes, just cleaning." But her mind wasn't on cleaning anymore. That night, the mansion felt different. Mr. Carter came home later than usual. His voice was tense during dinner, his words short. Mrs. Carter barely touched her food, her eyes drifting toward Sophia more than once, as if she was trying to read her. "Make sure the upstairs is locked tonight," Mrs. Carter said suddenly, her tone sharper than usual. Sophia nodded. "Of course." But as she walked away, she noticed something. Fear, not anger, not control. Fear, and that told her more than any document ever could. Later, when the house finally went quiet, Sophia stood alone in the hallway outside the restricted area upstairs. The door was locked, just like always. She reached into her pocket. For a moment, she just held the small key between her fingers. Then slowly she looked up. Her reflection stared back at her from the dark glass of a nearby window. Calm, focused, unafraid, almost like she had done this before. Downstairs, a clock ticked loudly in the silence. Upstairs, something shifted. Sophia stepped closer to the door. Not rushed, not nervous, certain. Because this wasn't just about Elena anymore. This was about everything the Carter family had tried to hide. And piece by piece, it was coming together. But what Sophia didn't know yet was that she wasn't the only one keeping secrets inside that house. Behind another door, in a room no one talked about, someone else was already watching her. The next morning, Sophia woke up earlier than everyone else. Not because she had to, but because she couldn't ignore the feeling anymore. That sense that every hour mattered. That whatever she came here for was closer than it seemed. Down in the kitchen, the staff moved as usual, but the whispers had grown louder. Elena's name came up more often now, always followed by silence when someone noticed Sophia nearby. They said she left suddenly. "No, I heard something happened." Then why replace her so fast? Sophia kept her head down, pretending not to hear. But every word mattered. Every rumor filled in a piece of the puzzle. Across the house, Mrs. Carter stood by the window in her private study, her phone pressed tightly against her ear. Her voice was low, controlled, but there was tension underneath it. "I told you, this needs to stay quiet," she said. "We handled it once. We'll handle it again." A pause. Her grip tightened. "No, she doesn't know anything. She's just a replacement." But even as she said it, her eyes shifted slightly toward the hallway, as if she didn't fully believe her own words. Meanwhile, Mr. Carter sat in his office, staring at a file he hadn't opened in years. His jaw was tense, his thoughts somewhere far from the present. The past had a way of catching up, and lately it felt closer than ever. He picked up his phone, hesitated, then put it back down. Whatever he was thinking, he wasn't ready to say it out loud. Back in the hallway, Sophia continued her routine. Calm, careful, but inside, her mind was moving fast. She had seen the documents. She had felt the fear. And now, she knew one thing for sure. Elena didn't just leave. Something had happened. And whatever it was, the Carter family had buried it deep, but not deep enough. Later that day, Sophia was asked to clean one of the guest rooms, a space rarely used, always locked. As she stepped inside, something immediately felt off. The room was spotless but untouched, like no one had lived there, or like someone had left in a hurry. She moved slowly, her eyes scanning every detail. Then she saw it, a small scratch on the inside of the closet door. Faint but repeated, not random, intentional. Her hand hovered over it. For a second, her calm expression cracked just slightly, because it reminded her of something personal. She stepped back, taking a slow breath, forcing herself to stay focused. This wasn't just about uncovering the truth anymore. This was starting to feel connected. As the day went on, Sophia noticed something else. Someone was watching her, not openly, not directly, but in small moments. A shadow passing by a doorway, a curtain moving when there was no wind, And once, just once, she caught a glimpse of someone standing at the end of the hallway upstairs. Still, silent. Gone the next second. That night, Sophia didn't go straight to her room. Instead, she returned to the locked door upstairs. The key was still in her pocket. The hallway was darker now, quieter than ever, the kind of silence that made every small sound feel louder. She stood there for a long moment. Then slowly, she raised her hand. But before the key reached the lock, a voice came from behind her. "You shouldn't be here." Sophia froze, not out of fear, but recognition. She turned slowly, and for the first time since she arrived, her calm expression shifted, just slightly, because the person standing behind her was someone she didn't expect to see. And somehow, they knew her name. Sophia didn't move right away. The hallway felt tighter somehow, like the walls had shifted closer without a sound. She turned slowly, her fingers still wrapped around the small key in her hand. Standing a few steps behind her was an older woman, someone from the house staff, but not someone Sophia had spoken to before. She wasn't dressed like the others. No uniform, no rushed movements, just stillness. "I said, you shouldn't be here, Sophia." The way she said her name wasn't curious. It was certain. Sophia's eyes narrowed slightly, studying her. "And you are—" The woman didn't answer directly. Instead, she glanced toward the locked door, then back at Sophia. "Some doors in this house are closed for a reason. Opening them won't give you what you're looking for." Sophia tilted her head just a little. "How do you know what I'm looking for?" A brief silence passed between them. Then the woman took a step closer, her voice softer now, almost careful. "Because I knew Elena." That name hung in the air like a weight. Sophia didn't react immediately, but something inside her tightened. "Then you know she didn't just leave." The woman's expression changed, just slightly, but enough. "No," she said quietly. She didn't. For a moment, it felt like the truth might finally come out. But then, footsteps echoed from downstairs. Both of them paused. The woman stepped back quickly, her calm returning like nothing had happened. "Go back to your room," she said. "If you want answers, you'll have to be patient." And just like that, she turned and disappeared into the shadows of the hallway, leaving Sophia alone again. But now, everything had changed. Sophia looked back at the door, then at the key in her hand. Patience. That wasn't why she came here. Downstairs, voices were rising. Not loud enough to draw attention, but tense enough to matter. Sophia moved quietly toward the staircase, her steps careful, controlled. She stopped halfway down when she heard Mr. Carter speaking. "This is getting out of hand," he said, his voice low but sharp. "We agreed this would stay contained." Mrs. Carter responded quickly. "It is contained. You're overreacting." "Am I?" he shot back. "Because things are starting to repeat themselves." A long pause followed. Then Mrs. Carter said something that made Sophia's breath catch slightly. "We replaced her. That's what matters." Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. "And if this one isn't like the last?" Mr. Carter asked. Sophia didn't wait to hear more. She stepped back quietly, her mind racing now. This wasn't just about Elena. There had been others. More than one. Back in her room. Sophia closed the door gently and leaned against it for a second. For the first time, her calm slipped just a little. Not fear, but urgency. She reached into her bag and pulled out a folded paper. Old, slightly worn. She opened it carefully. It was a photo. 2 women. One of them was Elena. The other, Sophia's fingers tightened slightly around the edge of the photo. "Almost there," she whispered under her breath. Outside her door, something moved. A shadow passed, then stopped. Sophia looked up slowly. The handle didn't turn. No knock, just presence. Someone was standing there, listening, watching, waiting. Inside the mansion, every secret felt closer to the surface now, every lie weaker than before. And Sophia knew whatever was behind that locked door upstairs, whatever the Carter family had been hiding, it was all connected. To Elena, to the others, and to her. The only question left was, who would reach the truth first? Because the moment that door opens, nothing inside that house will stay hidden anymore. Sophia didn't move toward the door right away. She just stood there, her eyes fixed on the handle, her breathing slow and controlled. Whoever was outside, they weren't in a hurry. That alone made it worse. It meant they were confident, or they already knew enough. The shadow under the door shifted slightly. Then a soft knock. Not loud, not aggressive. Careful. Sophia stepped forward and opened the door just a little. Standing outside was not one of the maids. It was Mr. Carter. For a brief second, neither of them spoke. His expression was unreadable, calm on the surface, but his eyes, they were searching, measuring, like he was trying to confirm something he didn't fully understand yet. "Can we talk?" he asked quietly. Sophia opened the door wider, without a word. He stepped inside, closing the door behind him. The room felt smaller, instantly. "I don't usually do this," he said, glancing around briefly. "But something about you feels familiar." Sophia didn't respond. She just watched him. He took a slow breath. "Where did you say you were from again?" There it was. Not a casual question. A test. Sophia met his gaze, her voice steady. "You already know the answer to that." A flicker of something crossed his face. Surprise, or maybe confirmation. That was all it took. The silence between them shifted. "You've been asking questions," Mr. Carter said. Not accusing, just stating a fact. "Looking into things that don't concern you." Sophia tilted her head slightly. "Are you sure about that?" Another pause. Longer this time. Then he stepped closer. "Who are you?" he asked. "Not what's your name. Not where are you from. Who are you?" Sophia held his gaze. For the first time, there was no pretending in her expression. But before she could answer, a loud sound echoed from upstairs. Both of them turned instantly. It came from behind the locked door. Not a crash, not something breaking. More like movement. Heavy, intentional. Mr. Carter's face changed completely. That calm control, gone. "What did you do?" he asked sharply, looking back at Sophia. Sophia frowned slightly. "I haven't opened it." Another sound, closer this time, like something or someone was inside. Mr. Carter moved quickly toward the door, then stopped himself. His hand tightened into a fist. "No one goes up there," he muttered, almost himself. Sophia watched him carefully. "Then why does it sound like someone already is?" That question hit harder than anything else. For a moment he didn't answer, because he didn't have one. Down the hallway, footsteps approached. Fast this time. Mrs. Carter appeared, her face pale, her voice tense. "You heard that too?" she asked. Mr. Carter nodded once. Neither of them spoke after that. They didn't need to. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Sophia stepped out into the hallway now, no longer hiding, no longer pretending. Her eyes moved between them, then slowly toward the stairs leading up. "This is what you've been hiding, isn't it?" she said quietly. Mrs. Carter looked at her sharply. "You don't understand." "I understand enough," Sophia cut in. Another sound came from upstairs. This time it was clearer. A faint knock from the inside. All three of them froze. The air turned cold, because that door had been locked for a reason, and whatever was behind it was never supposed to be heard. Sophia's grip tightened slightly at her side. Mr. Carter took a slow step back. Mrs. Carter shook her head under her breath. This isn't possible. But it was. And deep down they both knew it. Sophia looked at them one last time, her voice calm, but stronger now. "You replaced the wrong person." That landed harder than anything else, because in that moment, for the first time, the Billionaire family realized. Sophia hadn't come looking for answers. She had come knowing them. And now, whatever was behind that door was about to prove it. No one spoke after that last knock. The sound came again, faint, but clear enough to remove any doubt. Something was inside that locked room. Sophia didn't wait this time. She stepped forward, past Mr. and Mrs. Carter, and started walking toward the stairs. Her pace wasn't rushed, but it was certain, like she had already reached the moment she had been preparing for. "Stop," Mr. Carter said sharply. "You don't know what you're doing." Sophia didn't turn back. "No," she replied quietly. "I think I finally do." Behind her, the Carters exchanged a look. fear, regret, and something else, something heavier. They followed. Each step up the staircase felt louder than it should have. The mansion, once full of quiet control, now felt like it was holding its breath. At the top, Sophia stopped in front of the locked door. The same silence. But now, they all knew it wasn't empty. Sophia pulled the key from her pocket. Mrs. Carter stepped forward quickly. If you open that door, you don't understand what it will do to this family. Sophia looked at her, her eyes steady. You should have thought about that before. The key slid into the lock. A small click echoed. And just like that, the truth had nowhere left to hide. Sophia pushed the door open slowly. The room inside wasn't dark like they expected. It was lit, clean, prepared. And in the center of the room, someone was sitting on a chair, alive, weak but conscious. It was Elena. Mrs. Carter gasped softly. Stepping back, Mr. Carter froze completely, his face losing all color. Elena looked up slowly, her eyes adjusting to the light from the hallway. When she saw Sophia, something in her expression changed. Not surprise, recognition. "You came," Elena whispered. Sophia stepped inside, her voice softer now. "I told you I would." Behind them, the Carters stood in silence, their perfect world breaking apart in front of them. "You said she left," Sophia said, turning slightly toward them. "You told everyone she chose to go." Mrs. Carter shook her head, her voice trembling. We were trying to protect." "Yourselves," Sophia interrupted. Not angry, just honest. Elena lowered her gaze for a moment, then spoke again. "They didn't want the truth to come out," she said quietly, "about what they were doing about the others." The word hung in the air. Others. Sophia's eyes flicked back to her. There were more, weren't there? Mr. Carter finally spoke, his voice low and strained. It wasn't supposed to go this far, but it already had. The silence that followed felt different this time. Not tense, not hidden, exposed. Everything was out now. The billionaire family, the pregnant maid, the lies, the replacements. It all connected. Sophia took a slow breath, placing a gentle hand on Elena's shoulder. "It's over," she said softly. For the Carters, it was the control they held, the image they protected. It was all gone in a single moment. But just as it felt like the truth had fully surfaced, Elena looked up again, not at the Carters, at Sophia. There was something else in her eyes now, something uncertain. "You didn't tell them," Elena said quietly. Sophia's expression didn't change. "No." Mr. Carter frowned slightly. "Didn't tell us what?" A brief pause, just enough to shift everything again. Sophia turned slowly to face them, her calm returning. But now it felt different, stronger, colder. "You thought this story was about what you did," she said. "About the way you replaced people, controlled everything." She took a small step forward. "But that was never the full story." Mrs. Carter's voice shook. "Then what is it?" Sophia held their gaze. And for the first time, she didn't hide anything. "Elena wasn't the only one sent here," she said quietly. The room went still. "Sent," Mr. Carter repeated. Sophia nodded once, then placed her hand gently over her stomach. "And neither was I." The meaning landed slowly. Then all at once, this wasn't just about uncovering a secret. It was something bigger, something planned. And suddenly, the Carters weren't the ones in control anymore. They were part of something they never saw coming. As the silence filled the room again, heavier than before, one question remained unanswered, and far more dangerous than anything else. If Sophia didn't come here by chance, then who sent her? And why were they watching this family so closely? The silence in the room didn't break right away. It stretched, heavy and uncomfortable, as the truth settled over everyone. Mr. Carter was the first to speak, his voice quieter now, stripped of the authority he once carried. "Who sent you?" Sophia didn't rush to answer. She glanced at Elena, then back at the couple standing in the doorway of their carefully built world. "People who watch patterns," she said simply. "People who notice when the same story keeps repeating, especially in places where power hides it." Mrs. Carter shook her head slowly, trying to make sense of it. "That doesn't explain this," she said. her voice still trembling. Why our family? Sophia stepped closer, her tone steady but not cruel. Because it wasn't just one mistake, she said. It became a system, replacing people quietly, making problems disappear, hoping no one would ever connect the dots. Elena looked down, her hands resting gently over her stomach. I thought I was alone, she whispered. I thought no one would ever find out. You weren't alone, Sophia said softly. You just couldn't see it yet. For a moment, no one spoke again, but this silence felt different. Not tense, not hiding anything, just real. Mr. Carter ran a hand over his face, the weight of everything finally catching up to him. What happens now? He asked. Sophia didn't answer immediately. She walked to the window and looked out at the massive estate, the gates, the walls, the illusion of control that had once defined everything inside. Now, she said quietly, the truth doesn't stay in this house anymore. That was the part they feared most. Not confrontation, not exposure in the moment, but what comes after when everything hidden becomes visible. Mrs. Carter slowly sat down, her strength fading. We thought we were protecting our family, she said. We didn't see what we were becoming. Sophia turned back toward her. That's the thing about power, she replied. It doesn't change people overnight. It happens slowly, until one day you don't recognize your own decisions. Elena shifted slightly. Looking between them, there was still pain in her eyes, but also something else now. Relief. You opened the door, she said softly to Sophia. That's all that mattered. Sophia gave a small nod, because sometimes that's where everything begins, not with big actions. Just one door finally opened. Outside, the morning light grew brighter. The same mansion stood tall, the same walls, the same rooms, but everything inside had changed. The billionaire family who once controlled every detail now stood face to face with something they couldn't manage or erase. The truth, and the women they once overlooked, were the ones who brought it forward. As time moved on, the house didn't feel as silent anymore, not because it was louder, but because it was no longer hiding. Some things were taken further, beyond the walls, into places where they would be handled properly. Other things stayed behind as reminders of choices, of consequences, and of how easily things can go too far when no one speaks up. Sophia stood by the front gate later that day, pausing for just a moment before stepping out. She didn't look back, not because it didn't matter, but because her part in this story was complete. And somewhere behind her, in a house that once held too many secrets, a different kind of silence finally settled in. One that didn't hide anything. One that simply told the truth.